a more interesting take on the whole Sex in the City phenomenon than some people. So anyway, I was a fan back in the day. I even had the Sex in the City game because my mom bought it for me one year because she knew I liked the show, and my mom had watched it a few times. But her complaint about Sex in the City was they have way too much sex, and I'm like, it's a show. I don't think most people have that much sex. Maybe some people do have that many partners, but like when Miranda was making her notebook of the 42 partners, like really, I just don't think that's realistic. Well, not in my world anyway. So I always said, because my mom would be like, life is not Sex in the City. That's entertainment. And I'm like, yes, it's entertainment. I don't know anybody who lives like that. Maybe there's people that do. It's not a healthy idea. But let me just tell you my ideas about Sex in the City and why personally I just wouldn't um, live that lifestyle. Like, not to be I'm not trying to be a prude or anything. Like, I'm not trying to judge them and they're, great. The one bonus, the one benefit to that series was it portrayed women doing what men do. Like, in the 90s, it was kind of revolutionary in a way. It like women were doing what men did, what men have always done. So yeah, in that sense, like, why should women be shamed for what men do? It's like the whole Madonna whore thing. Like, men want to have that experience. They want to sow their wild oats, as it were. But if a woman does it, oh no, that's just not good. So anyway, like the whole series is kind of about that, like about in fact, the very first episode of Sex in the City, it's about having sex without feelings, like, and can Carrie do it because there's this guy that she's kind of attracted to, and like she's doing a social experiment for one of her articles if she can have sex without feelings. And at the end of the episode, she kind of has a discussion with Mr. Big. Spoiler, if you've never seen Sex in the City, the series, don't listen to me talk about this because you probably will be disappointed. So anyway, the whole thing is, can women have sex without feelings? Yes and no, but I think Big makes a good point. He goes, oh, so you've never been in love. And like she says, the wind has been knocked out of her because she realizes, oh, I've never been in love. Because Big's like, of course, men and women have sex with emotion and feeling. Like, and you kind of respect him after that first episode. But it goes downhill pretty darn quick after that. Like, pretty darn quick. Like, I have never been one to super respect Mr. Big for a myriad of reasons that, and I kind of will touch upon, I watched a spoiler of Just Like That, but I will kind of explain why I don't think I want to watch Just Like That. Because look, I don't hate on Sex in the City or anything. Like, some people are like, how can you watch that trash? It's just trash because the word sex is in there and they talk about sex. But it's actually very revolutionary without talking about certain topics that could get demonetized on YouTube. I think in the late 90s, it opened the discussion about some things that other programs hadn't before. And it finally gave women the freedom to do what men do. But there are certain choices that the character, I'll be honest with you, as the series progresses, I just don't like Carrie. I didn't like her. And I don't like Big. I feel sorry for Carrie, but I just don't agree with like how she reacts to things, to be honest with you. And I loved Aiden. He was such a good character. And I'm like, I don't get it. Like, why would you pine after Big when you had Aiden? So I guess this is a roundabout way of saying, like, I feel like the reason I'm probably not going to watch Just Like That is because I watched Sex in the City back in the day, and I feel like it's come and gone. It's had its airplay, it's had its airtime. I feel like those stories have been explored to their fullest extent, in my opinion. And I actually kind of really respect Kim Cattrall for making that point, because once the series was over, they wanted to do kind of like a smaller, breezy movie. And she said, look, let's wait and do it right. Like, I think Kim Cattrall the character that she plays, Samantha, in the series and in real life, is a very savvy business type person. She's like, and just creative person. She's like, let's not just do this to do it. Let's do it the right way. And so, actually, I respect her a lot. And she had her own personal reasons for not wanting to continue with the series and all. And I don't really like from what I heard about the spoiler, and I haven't watched it, but just what I read, I don't really like the explanation that they had for Samantha no longer being there. I think it was kind of crass and poor class. Like, just what I got from it is that, oh, because she was only going to be like, because Carrie dropped her as a publicist, like she dropped her as a friend. You know what? That feels like, I know they're saying that they kept it open if Samantha, Kim Cattrall, everyone come back to the series, but it actually kind of just reinforces what she said about how they could have been nicer to her. And I don't want to judge Sarah Jessica Parker because I don't know her in real life, but after I've watched some interviews with Kim Cattrall, she actually was into genealogy, and she did an episode of Who Do You Think You Are, and she tracked her family from England all the way to Canada, and I kind of like made me think, she's actually a pretty classy person. I know some people are like, what, a woman that's in a show about sex be classy? But actually, I would say out of all the women in real life, she is a very classy person, and I might not agree with all her life choices, but I would say in general, like, I can kind of respect her a little bit more than the other people. And I don't really like, from what I saw the previews, what they decided to be Kim Cattrall's, like, Samantha's, like, what happened to her, because I don't think she ever would have dropped Carrie as a friend. She was all about, it's always women, the girls before the guys. Like, even if she had a lot of conquests, it was actually Samantha that always put her female friends above the guys. Like, she was a ride or die friend, as somebody pointed out. So I really don't like the way that they decided to portray it. It feels kind of like, was it kind of a personal dig at her? And does it kind of, I don't know, does it really reflect, like, maybe some of what Kim Cattrall said about the way Sarah Jessica Parker treated her is a little bit more true? Like, I don't know. It kind of just makes me not really respect Sarah Jessica Parker. And I think they should have respected her decision not to be in the series. They should have just, like, let it go and be like, she's moved on. I don't think they should have made it. I think when the part when, oh, she dropped him as a friend, like, really, did you have to go there? Or did they drop her as a friend longer ago? Because it seems like from the interviews that Kim Cattrall did, they were always a little bit closer with each other than she was with them, but she kept it more professional. I would say Kim Cattrall was probably the most professional in the group, and I actually really like the way she played Samantha. Like, whether you agree with her fluid sexuality or not, she always believed in confidence. And, like, one example that I thought was really healthy, she said, instead of, like, being, like, all envious of the woman on the magazine cover, she said, I have that dress. You kind of have, like, her character and the way she thought. She didn't have low self-esteem. She just felt good about herself. And she wasn't, like, the most beautiful woman on the planet. I mean, she's attractive, don't get me wrong, but she's not, like, the most beautiful. I would say out of the series, all the most beautiful would be Charlotte. But Charlotte is, like, her character, Kristen Davis, was very insecure. Probably more insecure than Carrie, but Carrie is really insecure. And there's a lot of things I don't like about her character. It's because we soon find out that Mr. Big is even though he believes in love, we soon find out he's of the polyamorous variety. Dare I say, I don't know, I would say that Mr. Big is narcissistic, but he definitely is okay with treating women like playthings, okay? And this is where I feel like in modern life, men need accountability for their actions. Like, yes, I know some men are going to say, oh, well, because of women's lib, we can be free-wheeling dudes and we don't have to commit to this, this, and this. But this is just my critique of modern casual encounter dating, whatever you want to call it. Like, I don't like how men just think that they can go from one thing to another. And I know women do that too. But let's be honest. Let's be real. Men do it more than women. And it's something that men need to be called out on a lot. Because as a man, I don't think you should go from this, this, and this. And that's okay. I think it's so disgusting and so unhealthy. And that's why I didn't like Mr. Big. And I feel like when Carrie realized, what he was, like, she should have just been done with him. But instead, she always felt insecure about Mr. Big. And in a way, maybe he was a narcissist because he always, like, he would drop her and then come back to her, drop her and then come back to her. And I don't see how that is a good thing, in my view, okay? I don't think that's good. I don't think that's healthy. She finally meets a good guy, Aiden, who I like a lot, and who he doesn't even want to rush into sex. He wants to have romance, and he's just like a true gentleman. And Carrie cheats on him. I'm like, oh my God, with Big, who's married to Natasha, who, okay, Carrie wanted to go with him to Paris, right? And he said the most shittiest of all things. Well, you'll be going to Paris for yourself, right? You'll be going to Paris for yourself. And, and I don't even know why Carrie was trying to, like, woo him over or get him to want to, like, commit to her. Because, as soon as he goes to Paris, he meets Natasha and they get married. And, whatever. That's who he is. Let him go. Like, when you encounter men like that, men that can just be fluid from one person to another, they need accountability. I know women do it too, but there's a lot of, we give Big way too much of a free pass because he's a man. Why do men get the free pass? They don't get the free pass. I think they shouldn't have the free pass. And a lot of, like, my critiques of the show was I never liked how Big did that. And I thought once he did that to Carrie, he was not a suitable match for her. And I just thought with her being an independent, intelligent, savvy woman, why was she so obsessed about Mr. Big? Like, oh my gosh, I need to paint my walls not to think about him and do this and do this. And I'm like, you know what? Think about a man a little bit. But if a man, like, does you wrong like that, put him out of your mind and be like the man. Because the man, a lot of men today and always, they treat women like it's a harem, okay? And I am going to critique this. I know a lot of people don't like it, but yeah, it's weird. Like, why? Why do you need so much variety? Why do you get to go from one woman to another woman to another woman? And yes, Samantha does it and Carrie does it, but I'll say, like, Samantha does it. But at least Samantha is upfront about her intentions. She's not looking for a relationship. Samantha just wants casual. She is upfront, She is who she wants to be. Although later on, she does decide that she wants a relationship with James, and that's never going to be because, James obviously wants to cheat, and she meets another guy later on that she does end up being involved with. But at least she's honest, right? Big is never honest. But Carrie is just as bad too because, okay, she's with this amazing guy, Aiden, who, like, ladies, Aiden's legit. He's the real thing. Why would you want to sacrifice Aiden for Big? Oh, this was one of the crux of the series that I never liked. Why? Aiden's perfect. He's more handsome. He's more attractive. He's just a nice all-around romantic guy. But you keep going for bad boy Big. What is it about Big that you can't get out of your head? Like, I just don't get it. So, like, I had all these issues with the series. And then it just got so weird because, like, okay, so anyway, Carrie ends up getting back together with Aiden after she cheated with him Mr. Big because she's begging at his doorstep after she cheated on him. And then they get together and they're going to get married. But like for some reason, Carrie just can't commit to him and she doesn't want to marry him. So Aiden gives her an ultimatum that they get married and she just can't do it. So they end up breaking up. Why? Like, I don't know. Like, why did you let Big go just because you're pining away for Big, whose name turns out to be John at the end? Big John. I don't know. Anyhow, it's so like, look, I love Chris Noth. Great actor. He is handsome. Like, yes, and all that. But character-wise, the character he plays, what is it about this man that you keep being magnetized towards? Why do women want to put themselves in that situation where they, and I'm not a feminist. I'm not a feminist at all because I think feminism is like very detrimental. Like I just believe in humanism. But I will point out things where men and women make mistakes. I don't think women should be so hard on men, but I think men who act like Mr. Big or like that are of the polyamorous persuasion are wrong. I do. And they can't justify their behavior in any way in our society. If they think that they can, I don't agree with that. And I'm not even a prude because look, I've watched Sex in the City. I found it entertaining, but I can critique it, right? I can critique the series. My one friend was like, how could you have watched that? Oh my gosh. But there is there's references to literature. The writing can be witty and fun. If you like New York City, there's a lot of that. So I just don't like when people make like knee-jerk like decisions about a show without having watched it. Like you don't have to watch it. Don't get me wrong. But I don't judge people for wanting to see just like that. Like I can understand like maybe why some diehard fans want to watch it, or like younger people who are just coming to the Sex and the City franchise, why they would want to watch it. But for me, the reason I don't really want to watch it is because I feel like the storyline has been like so explored that I feel like I feel like after the second movie, which went kind of way off the deep end, to be honest with you, that second Sex and the City movie, yeah, it just wasn't that great, honestly. It got pretty bad. It was pretty bad in some ways. And even though I like the actors, it was pretty bad. So I can totally see why Kim Cattrall didn't want to continue on with it. She's spot on, okay? She's spot on when it comes to this. And I did like the series, okay? But sometimes some things just need to come to the end. I don't think every series can continue on forever. That's just my opinion. Like, I know other people are like, but this is a new era. They're exploring new stories. I guess since he's the first episode, Mr. Big dies and he ends up giving the money to his ex-wife, Natasha, spoiler alert. And then Carrie's all like tied up about it and she doesn't know why he wants to give her $1 million. And then Natasha's like, it surprises me and I didn't know either. And I'm just like, that's kind of a weird storyline, but whatever. I don't know. I guess the thing about the whole thing, getting back to the whole Big Carrie arc, was that, like a lot of people have said, I don't think Big would have turned around and loved her later. I don't believe that. I believe that a man like that is not going to come back to someone later on. Like, I know in the series, they want you to feel like, oh, like, the love can be found, like, but I don't think there was any love lost on Big's part. Like, Carrie loved him, but she had to force him to tell her that he loved her, okay? It was, like, finally, like, he says it because he feels cornered into a wall and jealous that she went home with another guy from a party. And then she didn't really do anything with him. But it's just like, it was just this jealousy thing. Big never loved her, okay? He didn't love her. But yet the series wants us to believe that eventually he could see the error of his ways and miss her and want her back. He didn't want her back, okay? So I don't believe that for a second. That was one of the problems I had with the series. So, like, Carrie lets Aiden go, and he's a great guy, and I don't know why. Like, why would she rather pine away? Because that's what this is really about. That's why she really couldn't get married to Aiden, in my opinion. I don't think it was about being single. I think it was about that she still was holding out for Big. Why would you hold out for somebody that disregards you like that, who one day acts like they care in some capacity, and then the next day says things like, well, you'd be going to Paris for yourself, wouldn't you? Like, anybody that is willing to devalue you like that. What? No. Like, he wasn't an enigma. He was just, I'm not saying he was completely narcissistic. I think in this case, no. I think he just was selfish, okay? He did whatever he wanted to do when it felt good. But I don't believe that eventually Big would have came around and loved Carrie. I don't buy that line, that arc of the story. So anyway, she ends up having a relationship with a writer, which it's funny. People say that the series is just like fluffy, but there's actually a lot of literary references in there if you're into literature and whatnot. But people who don't watch it wouldn't know because they don't watch it and they just made a knee-jerk decision about what it was about. Like, you don't have to watch the show, but it's a little bit deeper than people think it is. Like, I just, after having seen it so many times, and it was something when I was younger that I watched, I just feel like, like it was interesting, but I don't have a desire to explore the story, like those stories any longer. And it also kind of just grows into like around the time that I got rid of cable. Because like, okay, so anyway, Sex and the City had ended in 2004. But like I had cable for a few more years after that, like cable subscription and everything. But I would say like almost a decade after that, really. But like I would rewatch it sometimes on HBO on demand. Like I watched a lot. Like I've seen the series a bit. I could probably pull out the trivia cards without looking and see if I get the answers right to some things. Like I can show you on camera without me like looking. I'll turn it around. I might get the answers right to some things. I don't know. I'll just pick some out. Like, so for example, there's one question. It says, in season 3, what discussion caused Charlotte to get up and leave the coffee shop? That's really, it had something to do with sex, I think. Oh, Funky Spunk. See, I should have known that. I didn't know that. Wow. I probably shouldn't have said that because that's not really advertised. Anyways. What was Carrie's elderly neighbor's name? Oh, that's really precise too. Mr. Cohen. I guess I don't remember the series as good as I thought. Some of these questions are really precise. How much did Carrie need for a down payment on her apartment? I think it was $40,000. Yeah, I got that one right. And that was another storyline that I really hated, was that Charlotte had the money, and Carrie, being the selfish little who that she is, thought that Charlotte should pay, that Charlotte should like pay like her diamond ring from her marriage that didn't work out, should basically pawn it, or sell it, not pawn it, but like sell it, so that she could then carry the money to pay for her apartment after she broke up with Aiden. Like, no, your friends don't owe you a living. And Charlotte even said, I don't think business and friends should mix. She's super right, and I just thought it was weird that, when Charlotte didn't offer it when they were going out for drinks one night, that Carrie would come over and demand it. Carrie was just really selfish in a lot of ways. And I'm not saying that in real life, like this is exactly how Sarah Jessica Parker is, but once the stories start coming out that Kim Cattrall kind of wasn't treated super nice on set, and that she's a very professional, like a lot of people have said that have worked with her on many different movie productions, that she's very professional. And if they ask her, and I don't think she's somebody that just wants to air dirty laundry about people just to be rude, it just kind of makes you think, gee, like, I mean, they're two different people. The character, it's just like, it just doesn't make me feel super good. Like, first off, what she did to Aiden really annoyed me because he was such a good man. He was a beautiful carpenter that built this beautiful furniture. He was just a nice old fashioned guy who had real values, who wanted to have a relationship with her. He was all around good guy. And you want to go back to Big, who is kind of a social alcoholic, who is just very like selfish, who sometimes, like, he's kind of ignoring you because he's watching a boxing game and he pretends like you're not even there. And then later he like wonders why you haven't called him back in like a week because you're painting your wall, and he shows up at your house and you're supposed to just take him back, no questions asked. Like, I'm not exactly saying that Big is a narcissist, but there is something about him. It's just very problematic. And I feel like I do think some guys, I'm not saying all guys, but I do think guys that prescribe to this polyamory, like, well, women that do it too, but the guys who just think, well, I can go from one woman to another and I can discard a woman and just put her on the back burner. Like, any guy that thinks that that's okay, like, they really have a problem. And you just really need to say, that is so problematic. And why would Carrie feel insecure about a man like that? He should be insecure. Like, I think men that do that should feel insecure. And in a way, like, it is kind of justifying and gratifying to see Big humble himself, okay? To actually see him humble himself and admit that maybe he did love Carrie after all, but I don't believe it because I don't think Big's that kind of guy. And there's a lot of good guys in the story, like Steve, okay? And others, like other good guys, but in the beginning they're rejected because they don't make a high income, or they work at a pizza joint, like, or a bar, not a pizza joint, a bar. Like, oh, they're not like so finally, like, Amanda can only accept Steve once, he owns a bar and he seems like he's becoming more of a businessman. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, really? Like, Amanda, you're a lawyer, okay? You can pay for yourself. Why are you upset that the guy doesn't make a lot of money? Like, why does that bother you so much? Like, there's just some storylines in there that really annoy me. Charlotte, I end up, like, when you kind of think about Charlotte in a way, like, I don't know, like, they try and make it seem like she's the selfish one, but I really don't feel like she is, because Charlotte's just always doing her own thing. And yeah, she might be a little bit more sexually promiscuous than the prudes would like, but in general, I would say Charlotte's much more restrained than the other characters. And she just wants to get married and have a family, and you really do feel for her over time that doesn't work out for the first time. And then the second time she actually converts to Judaism because of the man she loves, and she's willing to make those changes and sacrifices to her life. So I don't like, overall, Charlotte is not a selfish person, like, in general. And I don't even think Samantha really is, because Samantha's honest about who she is. Samantha's honest about herself. Like, she's sexually fluid. Like, she's very honest about who she is and what she is. Amanda is kind of selfish because of the demands that she puts on Steve. And I feel like she's very unfair to Steve. And I feel like she's unfair to her nanny. And I just feel like sometimes in the interaction with the ladies, she can be kind of like judgy. But overall, like, at the end, like, Carrie is the most selfish character. And even though I wouldn't exactly say that Big is a narcissist, I almost feel like Carrie kind of is, in a way, because it's always about Carrie, and Carrie always feels like she's being martyred. And I can't help but think, is it the writer in Carrie? Like, does she write storylines to be that way? She has the sex column. Does she want people to feel sorry for her all the time? Like, I'm the martyr, poor me. Like, but she is really selfish because she buys all these shoes and yet she's going to Charlotte and saying, Charlotte, you owe me money because, oh, I didn't save my own money. But I didn't want to be with Aiden anymore. But oh my gosh, I have to pay for the apartment now because he's ended our relationship because I didn't want to get married to him. So there were a lot of issues with the series. And, I wasn't big enough of a fan of the series to go see the movie in 2008. And I didn't go and see the second one in 2010, I think, or 11, 10, whenever it came out. I watched it. I bought the DVD. So I'm a big enough fan of the series that I actually did watch it a lot. And I have the game. Not that I've ever played it. It was weird. My mom got it for me, but I just kind of looked through the trivia because it was this thing that I always thought it'd be fun to play games with people, but I don't really know anybody who likes to play games really. Like, we played Monopoly a few times, but most people I know, they don't really like to play games. So I think I ended up giving a lot of my games to my nephew and niece. I kept this one because I wasn't going to give them that. And I kind of like it, like just to look at for nostalgic reasons. But anyhow, yeah, so I've explored the series. I feel like it also coincided with the time when I was getting rid of cable, like after 2011. I don't want cable anymore. I don't want to pay for cable. I wasn't going to pay for that, honestly. So I just kind of grew away from wanting to watch shows all the time. Like a lot of people watch a lot of shows. These days, the only show I really watch is occasionally I watch Magnificent Century. But there's a big caveat with that. I watch it when I'm in the mood. And I don't watch it all the time. Like mostly I just watch some YouTube videos here and there. Or I play music when I'm doing stuff in the background. I'm not a big show person. So when it came out that they were doing the series just like that, I'm not trying to get down on it. I just feel like with all these issues regarding things that annoyed me about Carrie and how I just found Mr. Big so problematic. And oh yeah, that's the other thing I was going to say. Okay. So here he is, such a selfish little man that, Carrie is kind of selfish herself too. But okay, the first movie, the whole thing is, all of a sudden he's having a panic attack and they can't get married. So he calls Carrie, and if you call someone and you say, I can't make it to the wedding, what the hell are they going to think? Are they going to think, oh, if you call them right back, they just were having a panic attack? No, they're going to think that you're doing the same old thing that you've always done, that you're just breaking things off with them. So, of course, Carrie had a big reaction, and she stormed away, and she threw her phone. Well, I want to throw my phone in the ocean, but of course, Carrie had a reason for not contacting Mr. Big when he did that. When he, was acting like he had cold feet at the altar. What a surprise on a stick. Oh, I'm so surprised. But that was the thing about Big. I never really believed that he had that transformation. Like, we were supposed to think, oh, he had that transformation because, oh, Carrie followed Alexander Petrovsky to Russia, who's a performance artist, because he actually asked her and he wanted to be in a relationship. But once they got to Paris, he uses her like a crutch and he's always working. But that was the thing about Alexander Petrovsky. He always worked, okay? He was really married to his work. And Carrie, had, I guess, a couple of fans in Paris that she met at a bookstore. And they wanted to have dinner with her and discuss her book. And she didn't show up. She basically ghosted them when Alexander was having a panic attack and being like, come with me to the premiere. I'm just like, Carrie, that's another thing about her too. She was always standing people up. Carrie was the one that would sometimes ditch friends to go be with a guy. And she did it to Samantha a few times. So I really didn't like when I heard that was the way that they wrote her not being in the series, that, she couldn't handle, Carrie dropping her as a publicist. I'm just like, really? You had to take it there. You had to use that angle. So I feel like, to me, the whole, look, I don't know these people in real life. I don't really have a side to take about, is Kim Cattrall right? Or is Sarah Jessica Parker right? But when you hear all the interviews and Kim Cattrall did make a good point. I like social media. Social media is fun. I'm not anti-social media, but Kim Cattrall did make a good point that why would you, like, when she had a personal thing happen in her life, why would you leave a comment on a social media page when you hadn't reached out to that person and just called them? Like, wouldn't that have been better? Like, isn't that kind of strange that you didn't call somebody to send your condolences for somebody passing away? Like, why would you do it publicly on a social media page? That's kind of weird. And I can kind of see why Kim Cattrall had that reaction. And I'm not taking her side. I don't know her in real life. Like, I'm not like vested in what she's thinking, but just after all the interviews and everything you've kind of heard about how it's well known that Kim Cattrall is very professional. I'm not saying Sarah Jessica Parker isn't professional, but Kim Cattrall does have a level of professionalism that you kind of, not that I want to take sides, but you kind of see, I feel like, yeah, she was kind of not part of their friend group. Obviously, she was working with them professionally, but I think she put it in a very diplomatic way. She just said that she felt like the storyline had been explored. And I totally agree with her on that, because I feel like, yeah, if you've seen the series and you kind of know what the problems are with the characters and you don't really like the life lessons that they have to teach, because there are life lessons there. Like, some of the people I like the best are going to be like Harry, Charlotte's second husband, and Steve, Amanda's husband. I like them. Like, they are truly good guys. I liked Aiden. Aiden was a great guy. But, yeah, I don't like how selfish Carrie is. I just don't like it. And she's always complaining about, oh my gosh, the single lady's plight. Like, I get it. Like, it's hard being out there dating early years. Like, that's not fun. But you have to remember, she had a really good guy, and she just couldn't get Big out of her mind, and she went on him on the side. Like, why? You had this amazing guy, and Big was never going to be devoted to you. Big's not devoted to anybody. He gets married, and he can't make up his mind. I don't know. Just like, okay. People really need to have a long, long thought before they get married. Like, are they just willing to devote their lives to one person? Full on. But I don't know. I just kind of decided at the end of the day, like, when I think about all these scenarios, it kind of makes you think, geez, Louise, man, I can't imagine watching more of the series. Like, I don't hate it. I'm not going to be like, oh my God, it's about sex. Don't show it to me. But it wasn't Samantha who was problematic in the story. It wasn't Aiden. It wasn't Harry. It was Big. He really annoys me. And Carrie and Amanda. Like, their characters at the end, I don't like them very much. Is that okay to say? Well, to diehard fans, it probably isn't. They're not going to see it that way. They're going to be like, oh, I love that character and that character and that character. But yeah, I'm not going to watch just like that, because, like, I feel like the series played itself out. I really do think it did. So, do I know any more of the answers to the, like, trivia cards without, like, me looking? Like, can I pick one and just, like, see? Okay, so. Let's see. Who arranged the cloud for Brady's first birthday party? Mary, Steve's mother. See, some of it is very precise, and I haven't watched it in a while, so I might not remember all that stuff. Also, too, like, I kind of, when I watch things, it's not like I'm obsessed with, like, sometimes I'm obsessed with details of the show, but sometimes I'm more obsessed with the arc of the character. Like, sometimes it's the forest rather than the trees, okay? Like, when it comes to history, it's the trees and the forest, but when it comes to shows, to me, it's more the forest than the trees. But that's just my take on it. I'm not going to apologize for not being very good at the trivia on Sex and the City, but to be fair, I haven't watched the series in a very long time. I watched it a lot years ago, but I didn't watch it like religiously. I didn't watch it like as an avid fan. I just liked it. I thought it was entertaining, but I had a lot of critiques about it. So I know a lot of people probably don't share my criticisms of the show or see it the way I did. I just think without being completely prudish about the show and being like, oh my God, it's about sex. We can't watch this. Or without being like such a diehard fan that you just think like, oh, it's so great that they're making a relaunch. I feel like there is a middle ground where we can just say, well, I didn't like this character and I didn't like that character, but I really like Steve. Like at the end of the series, I love Steve. Like sometimes I just wanted to watch it later on because Steve was so great. And I was like, why is Amanda getting mad at him because he wants to be around for her and Brady and have a relationship? Oh my God, like Steve's such a bad guy. You know, at the end of the day, I think what it was Amanda was kind of a snob because he wasn't as successful as her. You know, it's like she just was so intimidated by that. And I see Roger, you're not Roger the robot. Roger Bridges is a robot and he has dropped a link. Oh my gosh. So this is what we do to the Roger robot. Okay. We don't have time for your linky link, so we're going to go ahead and remove it. Okay, I had to remove his link. But anyway, thanks for watching.